Hey guys, this is the MMA Breakdown doing a recap for UFC Fight Night 68, Boetsch versus Henderson. Real quickly, follow me on Twitter. My link will be in the description. I've been live tweeting during the last several events. Going to do that for all future events. And also post my picks and results from UFC Fantasy on there. So if you want to keep up with that and just converse about fights and have fun, follow me on there. But yeah, Boetsch versus Henderson. My pick record for this card was 6 out of 12. I thought it was going great early, but things really fell apart getting to the main card. But it was really a great night of fights. I expected that going in. You know, you had relevant fights. You had a lot of great matchups and action fighters. So, you know, turned out really well. I think only 2 decisions. Yeah, 2 decisions on the whole card. And this to me is really kind of a perfect fight night. Middle of summer, or not, early summer in New Orleans. You know, kind of a real celebration and kind of festive setting. Early summer, a bunch of fun fights, and it turned out really well. You know, this at 188 is enough for me for 1 month. Satisfies my MMA needs. You know, events like Condit versus Alves, and then Jacek and Penne and the Tough Brazil 4 finale, which, you know, they're just cramming in those last 2 weeks of June. I really think is just overdoing it. And I would prefer just to have time to, you know, really process and then after the fact enjoy an event like Boetsch versus Henderson instead of getting right back to it with a crap filler card like Jacek versus Penne. But yeah, it was a real great night of action, and I was 6 for 12. So let's get right into this, and I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. So starting off with the Fight Pass preliminary card at catchweight, but really a bantamweight fight. Jose Quinones got the first round submission over Leonardo Morales. Quinones looked good. I picked him to win. Was able to get the takedown early and take the back and choke out Morales from there. Really not much more to say about the fight. These tough Latin America contestants, you know, they're not high skilled, like in the sense that they're going to be fighting for the title anytime soon. You know, but I think MMA is such a young sport where your growth rate can be really, really high. Especially when you're a young fighter just starting out. And, you know, I don't really buy the argument anymore that these fighters coming from countries where MMA isn't really developed, doesn't have a real foothold or extensive background, can't do well. And the example I always point to, I've said this a couple times in my other videos now, but Wang Sai versus Danny Mitchell and Zhang Lipeng versus Brendan O'Reilly. Those guys both got really dominant wins, and they're from tough China, which is just, everyone saw kind of as, you know, just the crappiest quality of fighters ever. And they wrecked guys from other countries, you know, that had, you know, where MMA is a lot more prominent. So, you know, Quinones, you know, obviously probably still a really low-level fighter and pretty green, but he's got skills and he fights hard. I actually thought he won, you know, the fight against Diablito Perez, Alejandro Perez in the tough finale. But looked good here, got a quick finish. And Morales, you know, seems like he needs to change something up. Lost to Yair Rodriguez in the featherweight finale. Dropped to fight the other finalist, Quinones, and lost badly. So I don't know what to make of him. But Quinones, I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing him fight again. Next up, in middleweight, Jake Collier won the split decision over Ricardo Abreu. I picked Abreu to win. This performance really disappointed me. Was able to get the finish in his last fight over Wagner Silva, just kind of with sheer aggression and you know, throwing at a really high volume, made it a brawl. And here he seemed content to just sit at range and try to point spar with Collier, and it wasn't working at all, really. I think I gave Abreu the first round. Was able to clinch up with Collier a few times, but in the second and third round, Collier just took over. Seemed to have the much cleaner and technical striking than Abreu, and Abreu just gassed badly. So Collier gets the win. I don't think either of these guys really are UFC level, though, and can't say I'm excited to see them again. Moving on to the Fox Sports 1 prelim card. At lightweight, Joe Proctor got the technical submission by guillotine choke in the third round with 2 seconds left against Justin Edwards. I picked Proctor to win this fight, and the finish was amazing because no one has really mentioned this, and I don't know why, but I thought Justin Edwards easily won every round in that fight and was well on his way to winning the decision. Like, I didn't even think it was close. But then Proctor was just able to get a flurry on the feet in the final moments, turn it around, and to pull out the victory like that with 2 seconds left, I thought, he was going to lose the decision. And to choke the guy out unconscious just to will your way to victory like that, I thought was very impressive. I mean, getting a tap, is one thing, but to, force the guy unconscious when that was his only way to victory, I thought was really impressive. But I thought Proctor was going to have a lot more success here on the feet, but he's just not, a high-volume striker. Edwards was really able to, use the forward movement. He threw a lot more. It was really kind of stifling Proctor's striking, and I just think Proctor needs to be a lot more active and aggressive than that. You saw in his fight against Justin Salas, he can hurt guys on the feet, and obviously has some submission ability, but if he can be more active than that, I don't see him doing much better against stiffer competition. But Justin Edwards, one of these guys who is just really inconsistent since coming off of TUF, had the win over Josh Neer, submitting him with a standing guillotine in the first round, and then loses to Nijum, gets steamrolled by Thatch, and almost got the win here. So I don't know. Both these guys seem kind of inconsistent, but Proctor moves on, and I don't really want to see Edwards cut. I thought he put in a good performance here, was going to win, but I don't know. All right, next up, Chris Wade got the unanimous decision over Christos Giagos. This was a decent fight between two prospects who had been making a little noise in the UFC. Wade had some... he pulled out a real nice elbow on the feet. I think it was in the second round. Excuse me. Chris Wade had a real nice moment on the feet, landing an elbow strike to Giagos. And there were a lot of scrambles. Wade just found himself in top position more and was able to get the win that way. It seemed like the slightly a better grappler, more composed striker, and more physical guy. But Giagos, I'm not writing him off. I thought his last win over Oliveira was really nice. And nice win for Wade. I don't really expect him to get into the top 10 or anywhere close to that anytime soon, but he's a young guy. Had a nice win here. Has some crafty things up his sleeve like that elbow and some decent grappling. So, I think that's enough for him to keep climbing the ranks, and we're going to be paying attention when he fights next. And Giagos, I want to see him again too. Next up, a welterweight, Omari Akhmedov got the TKO over Brian Ebersol, kicked him in the leg, and blew his knee out. I picked Ebersol to win this fight, and Ebersol retired, so what can you really say here? Just looked flat from the outset, and ever since he had that long layoff and came back, just really hasn't looked the same from before then. Had some real nice performances, back when he first got in the UFC. His finish over Dennis Hallman and his win over Chris Lytle. I liked, that Brian Ebersol, but since coming back, it's just looked really flat. And Akhmedov, I think, really cleaned up his striking here. His striking skills against Mats Nilsson and Thiago Perpetuo, I thought looked really rudimentary and was really just out there brawling, but landed a real nice body kick on Ebersol here, and it just looked like a more technical, refined striker, and it ended early, but if he can tighten up his striking like that, I'll be interested to see what he can do next. But Ebersol retires after 70 pro fights, and good for him. I wouldn't want to see the guy get knocked out fighting again, but kind of a disappointing fight, and Akhmedov moves on. All right, the last fight on the Fox Sports 1 prelim card. At heavyweight, Sean Jordan got the TKO in the second round by hook kick and subsequent punches on the ground. I picked Jordan to win. I said Derek Lewis just doesn't have he doesn't have the skill or the well-roundedness to beat a guy like Jordan, and Jordan proved that. He was taking him down, landed the hook kick, got on top of him on the ground and pounded him out. It was a nice win for Jordan, and I think the guy's improving. Had those bad losses to Gonzaga and Mitrione, where he got knocked out in the first round. But, came back here, had a great win. His last couple of fights, or his last two fights, got the knockout over Jared Cannonier in the first round, and then before that beat Jack May. I can't remember if that was a finish. I think finished him in the third round. Yeah, finished him in the third round. So a guy who's improving. I really like that he's mixing up his takedowns with the striking. And Sean Jordan is still developing, and real nice hook kick. It's always a treat to see a special move like that. So I loved it. And, it hurt Lewis. That's what put him down. And I don't know. Lewis, I think, is done. A guy who had some real big power, but just doesn't seem to have the rest of his game there. Even against Ruin Potts, was smashing him, but still got caught in a few leg locks and struggled a bit on the ground. And it's not good enough to be an elite fighter. All right, on to the main card. Francisco Rivera knocked out Alex Caceres in the first round. Very quickly, only 21 seconds in. I picked Rivera here. Alex Caceres, I think people have just kind of forgotten about him and gotten tired of him. I certainly have, especially after his last loss to Kanahara, just kind of losing to an unknown prospect from Japan. I don't think it, is a good thing. And his skills have really seemed to have stagnated. Early in his career, came off as one of these really dynamic guys, hopped around on his feet a lot and throwing unorthodox stuff. Had the win over Sergio Pettis in a fight which I thought he was going to lose the decision, and then lost to Faber, but losing to Kanahara, and never really showed that he do skills. While Rivera, has been improving, had a few setbacks, had the setback to Mizugaki, but I thought, was going to win a decision against Faber. It knocked out Caceres here, looked real good. And Rivera, I said this in the predictions video, this guy should really be respected as one of these guys like Matt Brown, who's just turned his career around. I remember watching this guy get knocked out by Eric Koch in the WEC, and then lost to Ruben Duran in the UFC, got cut, and came back. But, he's really climbed his way, into that top 15. And, even though Alex Caceres, he's been on a decline, 2-fight losing streak, hasn't looked good, and I think people have kind of forgotten about him. No one's knocked him out in the first round like that, so I think it's a really impressive win for Rivera. And, you know, I feel for the guy. I know a lot of people probably don't like to see a guy begging for a bonus check, but, you know, throw the guy a bone. This guy's turned around his career. You know, he's had some real exciting finishes in the UFC the last couple of years. He's fighting at a high level. He opened up the main card with a great finish, beat a guy who no one had been able to finish in that way before. I mean, for God's sake, help the guy out. But, you know, I think he was really kind of out of luck here just with his placement on the card. Fighting Alex Caceres again, who I think, you know, people are just kind of tired of now. But an impressive win for Rivera, and I definitely think he can continue to climb the ranks. I mean, I know he lost to Mizugaki, but, you know, maybe fighting the winner of Wineland and Caraway I think would be a great next opponent. So, you know, Rivera really has lethal striking, so really going to pay attention to him going forward. And Caceres, I think he just needs to fight really low-level guys at the UFC at this point, you know, if they want to have any hope of him, you know, getting back to a high level. All right, next up, another bantamweight fight. Anthony Burchak knocked out Joe Soto in the first round. This fight was incredible, or at least Burchak's performance. You know, it was just a barn burner right out of the gate. Burchak stormed him. Seemed to hurt him, and then that finishing sequence, I loved it. And it didn't look like Burchak was really blowing his gas tank either. Looked pretty composed. Didn't seem like you know, he had just emptied his gas tank like we've seen Rivera do in his fights to get the finish. And it was a great finish. Kind of crazy to think that Joe Soto took Dillashaw 4 rounds. And then Burchak finished the Soto like this, but, you know, his last fight, Burchak lost to Entwistle by heel hook in the first round. So, kind of crazy, but it was a great finish, and definitely look forward to seeing him again. And, you know, I don't think he can fight Dillashaw now, but can certainly get in the mix there and fight some better guys. So, great win for Burchak. And Soto, I think that's a pretty big setback. All right, next up at featherweight, Brian Ortega got the TKO over Thiago Tavares in the third round. This was a great fight, and, you know, everyone's talking about Brian Ortega, which they should be. But I thought Tavares, just like the Proctor-Edwards fight, I thought Tavares easily was going to win the decision. I gave both the first and second rounds to him. Ortega definitely had great moments, both on the feet and on the ground, especially off of his back, attempting submissions. But Tavares just spent more time on top and was able to land some good ground and pound, and took down Ortega a lot. But I picked Tavares, but I said in my predictions video, you know, I thought Ortega's win over Mike De La Torre in his debut was really impressive, and I wouldn't be surprised if he won here. And definitely, you know, had really a breakout performance, and against a real solid guy like Tavares, who's never been able to get to that elite level, but a guy who's been around the UFC and has had some impressive wins. But off of his back, Ortega is just really good, and it's really rare in the UFC nowadays to see a guy who's so effective off of his back, locking up and threatening with submissions. You rarely see that today in MMA. Almost all the time, it's just closed guard and guys not being able to really get close with any submissions, but was able to attack with the triangle and armbar several times. And on the feet, was doing a real good job hanging with Tavares. You know, his striking looked crisp and was using angles. And then the finish, you know, after I thought, you know, being beaten up for 2 rounds, was able to turn it around, get on top of Tavares and pound him out, and was also landing elbows from his back throughout the fight. Real impressive stuff by Ortega, and I'm real high on him. Great win. And Tavares, I kind of feel for the guy, because I thought even though you know, Ortega really rose to the occasion here, Tavares was still winning the fight and doing well. But You know, the guy's never been able to really take a lot of punishment. Got smashed by Nurmagomedov, got knocked out by Shane Roller, I think his first fight in the, or one of his first fights in the UFC. Or that was Shane Roller's first fight coming over from WEC. And then even when he fought Sam Stout, didn't really have a dominant performance. So was never really able to get to the top. And I think Brian Ortega just kind of surpassed him here. So great win for Ortega, and I expect big things from him. All right, next up, a lightweight, and it was actually catchweight. Medeiros came in overweight. But Poirier got the first round knockout over Medeiros. Outclassed him and just really proved that Medeiros had no business in this fight yet. And everyone's talking about Poirier looking like a different guy at lightweight. And I agree, his power and finishing ability is a lot greater than it ever was at featherweight. But I always thought this guy was an elite featherweight. And, you know, his only losses in the UFC coming to Korean Zombie, Cub Swanson, and Conor McGregor. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And especially the Swanson fight, it was a split decision. It was pretty competitive. And, you know, had a lot of finishes at featherweight as well. But the power of Poirier at lightweight is really a new thing. Just tagged Medeiros early. I think it was a straight, and dropped him. From there, took the back, tried to go for the rear naked choke, got back up to their feet, and then teed off on him, and they called the fight with Medeiros still on his feet. But you know, Poirier looking great. You know, I think he's ready for an elite guy. I mean, Medeiros really hadn't faced any elite competition, or at least beaten any. He lost to Jim Miller, and then, you know, beating kind of marginal guys like Joe Proctor and Yves Edwards a couple years ago. But I think Poirier is ready. I'd like to see him fight Cerrone. Obviously, Cerrone is fighting for the belt. He can fight Pettis coming back, who just pulled out of his fight because of an injury. If Nate Diaz decides to come back, I'd like to see him fight him. Or even Tony Ferguson if he gets past Josh Thompson. I think Poirier can really fight any of these guys in the top 10 and just has huge power. But the thing I think we really need to see him tested in is the wrestling. If he gets to the top of the division, I see guys like Nurmagomedov, even Ben Henderson, just really giving him trouble with the wrestling. But obviously very good and very powerful on the feet. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again big time. All right, next up, the co-main event at heavyweight, Ben Rothwell getting the submission over Matt Mitrione in the first round. I thought Matt Mitrione was looking like himself on the feet. You know, was using movement and footwork, landing on Rothwell. And then I don't know what compelled him to take him down. And that was what led to the finish for Rothwell. And I take nothing away from Rothwell. I mean, he capitalized on the opportunity and finished the fight. But, you know, I just thought it was a really unintelligent move by Mitrione to go for the takedown when he was winning on the feet. Rothwell, you know, didn't seem to be doing anything that would indicate that, you know, he was going to have any success on the feet. And I'm interested to see how that fight goes if Mitrione would have kept it on the feet and fight the way he was fighting in that first round. But, you know, went in and Rothwell wrapped up the front choke and finished it. And everyone's saying that Mitrione tapped, just kind of gave up without being in any real trouble. I think it's pretty ridiculous, and especially hearing Jay Glazer and the cast there in the studio after the fight talk about it. I thought it was pretty sickening and very uninformed. To have a huge guy like Rothwell, 270 pounds plus, big, strong dude, to lay out his torso on the back of your neck while choking you, I think is a pretty you know, serious thing, and you know, could probably end your life if you don't give up in that position. So I could completely understand the quick tap by Mitrione. You know, the guy was on top of his neck and was cranking on his neck there. Yeah, I don't think that was Mitrione, you know, being a wimp. I think that was him, you know, legitimately being in danger. So, yeah, but great win for Rothwell. You know, I think people still kind of don't take this guy seriously, but knocked out over him in the first round. Got a win over Mitrione, who's been looking very impressive lately. And yeah, he called out Arlovsky, which I don't really have a problem with, but I just think you gotta, you know, capitalize on the Arlovsky turnaround now. You got to give him his title shot, because I think I know he beat Rothwell earlier in their career and knocked him out, I think, but I think I would favor Rothwell to win that fight. And yeah, I would favor Rothwell to win that. And I don't think you want to lose out on Arlovsky fighting for the title. So, you know, heavyweight more than ever. I used to say it was the weakest division, but you got a lot of contenders lining up here. Arlovsky, Rothwell, Miocic, Junior Dos Santos is still there. So I don't really want to kill off either Rothwell or Arlovsky. You know, I think we should keep these guys waiting in the wings for Kane. And yeah, I don't really see a need to make them fight. But great win for Rothwell. And, you know, I don't think he'll beat Kane, but that first fight against Kane, you know, he wasn't knocked out. He was finished, but he was getting back up to his feet. A lot of people thought, you know, the stoppage was too early. Dana White even criticized the ref. I think that was Mazzagatti for stopping the fight there. I don't think he'll beat Kane, but, you know, who knows how Kane's going to look coming back from the injury. And Rothwell's stand-up is looking very powerful and deadly these days. So I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Kane again. All right, and then the main event, middleweight Dan Henderson knocked out Boetsch in the first round, only 28 seconds in. You know, I picked Boetsch. I said Henderson had no chance. I said Boetsch was gonna, Henderson was gonna go down with the first punch. Boetsch landed. Henderson got the win, and you know, I love Dan Henderson. It was real fun to see him get the win. But does this really mean anything? To me, it doesn't, because first of all, Tim Boetsch has been on a decline. You know, it's just very apparent. You know, losing to Rockhold the way he did, was looking terrible against Brad Tavares before getting the knockout. The fight against Dalloway, he won, but you know, a lot of people thought Dalloway got robbed. Lost to Munoz and lost to Leites in his last fight. You know, beating Boetsch, you know, still a decent fighter, but I don't really think it means anything for Henderson. And this is what happens when you just hang around forever. You know, the guy obviously proved me wrong, and he's still good enough to, you know, be competitive and compete. You know, but Henderson got finished by Mousasi and, you know, Cormier his last two fights. And now he beats Boetsch. You know, normally I would tell the guy, I thought Henderson should have retired after he lost to Belfort. I thought it was just clear at that point. You know, the guy's chin was gone. He had suffered a brutal knockout. What's there left to fight for? So, you know, I would tell him to retire. You know, you got a fun first-round knockout over an okay guy. But it's like he's hung around to this point. No one seems to really care that the guy's taken so much damage. And it's like, if he's hung around to this point, why not just keep going and fight another guy? I mean, I don't think there's anything, you know, beating Boetsch this way doesn't make me think that he can't get knocked out brutally again. I mean, anyone he fights, you know, higher than Boetsch at middleweight, I think, you know, would hurt him badly. Who's he going to fight? Weidman? Belfort again? Those guys would destroy him. Even Jacare. Jacare, I think, would knock him out brutally, just like Belfort did to him. So I don't know. I think, Henderson's just kind of put himself in a bad position where he's getting knocked out brutally, and it's just like I'm praying to God that he retires, but then he gets a win. But it's like, so what? I thought he should have retired after he beat Shogun for the second time. That's taking out a legend, a name. But then he went on to fight Cormier and Musashi and now Boetsch. I saw on Mike Bond's article on MMA Junkie, where he makes future matchups for the winners, and he said Henderson should fight Hoffel and Natal. Is that really what we want for Henderson now? You want to see him fight Hoffel, Natal? Just give me a break, but that's the kind of position I think Henderson has put himself in at this point. It's like there's no one really left for him to fight. People are saying Bisping. Sure, that's a bigger name than Boetsch if he can get that win, but I don't know. I just think Henderson, maybe should retire, but, maybe, I don't know. I just don't want to see the guy get knocked out again, which I think is very likely. Not fighting Bisping, but, anyone else in that top 5 of that middleweight division, I think he'd lose too badly. All right, but that's my recap for UFC Fight Night 68, Boetsch versus Henderson. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm 6 for 12 for this event. But check out my predictions for UFC 188, Velasquez versus Verdum if you haven't checked those out. And I have my predictions out for Fight Night 69, Jędrzejczyk versus Penne. So check those predictions out. I'll have my predictions for the last event in June, the Tough Brazil 4 finale, but I'll have to wait until a couple days before the actual fight to have my predictions out for those, because that's when we will know who the finalists are from the show. Or actually, I guess it'll be the Monday before the event, because that's when they air the Tough Brazil episodes. But so what I'll try to do is have my UFC 189 predictions out maybe even this week, pretty soon. I'll have those out before the Tough Brazil 4 predictions, so be on the lookout for that. But thank you guys. Please like the video, comment, and subscribe. But take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.